When you think of conflict, what first comes to mind? I'll bet it isn't the rosiest picture. Conflict is usually thought of as a negative. Butting egos, the inability to see another point of view, breakdowns in interpersonal communication, a lack of trust, strained relationships, one side trying to beat the other. Sometimes negative, sustained conflict can lead to a complete breakdown of the entire organization. Essentially, the organization fails. But conflict doesn't necessarily have to be a negative. Conflict can be positive and constructive. In fact, it is a natural and normal part of the everyday functioning of an organization. Organizations are constantly faced with challenges, for which there are many different possible solutions. Programs to adopt or end, priorities to fund, community concerns to respond to, cases either to pursue or not pursue, personnel decisions, staffing levels, recruitment, retention, and promotion, working through sticking challenges, coming up with constructive solutions as a team. All of these are potential sources of conflict. And while it certainly can go badly, conflict can be a necessary element to organizational change and adaptation, where the organization comes out the better for it at the end. Now, fundamentally, conflict occurs essentially when two different ideas or perspectives don't sync up together. You can't choose both alternatives in their entirety at the same time. It doesn't work. It's not possible. So you need to decide which idea to go with, which one to adopt, which one to pursue. This is where power can come into play. Power is used to persuade others to adopt your point of view, or get others to make the decision that you want, or to get them to go along with the decision that you've made. But regardless of what decision is actually made, the obvious goal is that these decisions are handled in an ethical and socially responsible way. Otherwise, it can lead to a great deal of negative consequences and even chaos. Power, ethics, organizational failure, all of these are topics that I'll cover more thoroughly in future videos. Now, to effectively identify and respond to conflict, managers need to do three things. They need to understand the stages of how conflict evolves, and how to identify and respond to conflict at earlier stages rather than letting them grow and fester into later stages that are more difficult to deal with. They need to identify the different types of conflict and the causes of those conflicts. And they need to consider the various response strategies to determine what response is going to be the most effective, the most workable, the most appropriate for that particular situation, as well as what is going to do the least amount of potential damage to critical relationships. Of course, in the best case scenario, you want an outcome that strengthens those relationships, but this isn't always possible. And sometimes the least damaging approach is really all there is to choose from. We'll cover each of these different aspects of conflict initially in multiple parts, probably 4 or 5 videos. And then I'm sure I'll return to it again at some point in the future. There's certainly no shortage of things to talk about when it comes to conflict. So that's all for now. Have you typically thought of conflict as a negative, as something that's detrimental? And does it make sense that it could also be positive and constructive? Have you been in a situation where conflict led to a major fundamental shift in how your organization functions? Comment below and let me know. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and have a good one.